Destiny is cruel, like a spider poisoning a sleeping child. But I also think that it is beautiful in its own way. It traps us and leads us down the paths it weaves to ultimately finish us. Knowing My Killer. An original story, written by Carlos de Magnolia. Chapter 1. The beginning of a dark adventure. My life has always been like walking with a nail in my foot. My father thinks that everything bad that happens in the world is my fault, or at least that's what I think he thinks. I don't have any siblings and no mother. Dad always says that my mother died because of me, but I don't remember killing her. I've tried several times to make friends by acting like a fool and letting them use me just so I wouldn't feel lonely. And then, one cold and cloudy day, that began like any other, the glass inside me overflowed, causing happiness to flow into my veins. I remember Auditor's face. She was so angry with me. The expression on her face scared me so much that I tried to claw her eyes out, but she fought back by scratching me and pulling my hair. And as the fight was about to end with my hands around her throat, I looked for a few moments at our blood mixing together, and it made me smile, because I realized we had something in common. But my happiness was short-lived, as they managed to open the bathroom door and we were interrupted. I ran out without explaining myself. No one stopped me because everyone was worried about her, but not for me, never for me. Why never for me? The people who saw me passing through the halls showed only faces of terror, as if they had never seen blood before. It was very cold in front of the school, nobody followed me, and I had the bad idea of going home. When my father saw me coming, he yelled at me as usual. I ignored him and locked myself in my room, but he got up from the couch and went straight to my door. He hit it so hard that I was afraid he would break it, but after several blows, he stopped. I was so scared, the world wanted to devour me alive, it wasn't fair, I wanted to cry and get lost under the covers until they all died. But Miss Caroline told me I couldn't stay here, that I had to escape, because they would surely come looking for me. So I packed some things, put them in a black bag, climbed out the window into the garden, and ran into the woods. However, before losing myself in the trees, I saw my father yelling at me from my room. It was the last time I heard him, because he didn't follow me. I walked for hours, it was already late, even though the sun wasn't visible, and I was tired. If Caroline hadn't been with me, supporting me and telling me things so clearly, I wouldn't have continued, I would have laid down and hoped it was all a dream, including my life. Finally, I reached the road and walked without any problem, as the roads were generally empty in that town. When night fell, I wanted to lie down and rest for at least a few minutes. But suddenly, a horn began to sound, which put me on alert. I turned around to look behind me and the lights of a car turned on. At that moment, everything slowed down except for my heart. Two boys got out and I tried to escape, but they caught me and took me to an abandoned football field where there were construction machines. They made me get out of the car and soon two other vehicles arrived. From one of them, a tall boy named Eugene, my platonic love and Auditor's boyfriend, got out. From the third car, Mr. and Mrs. Martin got out. And the woman quickly lunged at me and tried to cut me with a box cutter. I screamed and tried to defend myself from the ground, but she managed to cut my face and hands before I could break the blade. However, she seemed like she was going to kill me with a small piece of the box cutter that hadn't fallen. She was about to do it, but her husband pulled her away and ordered her to wait in the car. The woman cried and protested, but eventually she listened to him. From the ground, with the guy next to me, I saw Mr. Martin whisper something to Eugene before leaving. This handsome and self-assured man picked up the box cutter that the woman had dropped and came straight to me. We talked for a moment, and then he asked his friends to hold me down so he could carve the word "no" onto my forehead. He did it in a relaxed and smiling manner. It was perfect, even now. When he was finished, he stood up, put the knife in his pocket, and while lighting a cigarette, ordered one of the two guys who had brought me to pick up the gasoline Mr. Martin had left behind before he left and throw it on me. The two men argued about why their colleague had to do this, but Eugene silenced his friend by threatening to reveal that he had raped Bridget. At that moment, with only one guy watching me, I picked up a stone and, in his carelessness, I hit him hard on the head, knocking him out, I believe. Then I got up and ran as fast as I could. The boys who were arguing quickly realized I was escaping. And as I ran, I could hear Caroline shouting goodbye from inside the vehicle that brought us here. My face, hands, and heart were burning, and tears couldn't put out the fire. At some point, it started to rain in the dark forest I entered. I ran without knowing where to go, because I simply did not want to die. It was then that the world wanted to tell me something, because in front of me, there was a river of murky water, and behind me, I heard Eugene's voice. He was there, with such a beautiful face, but wrinkled by his obvious anger. He was wet, sexy, and his pants and shoes were muddy. We looked into each other's eyes and we both smiled.